Kept seeing cats flying out this door to the side of the house. I've done about 1,500 hits of acid. Dude, a whole month had went by in 4 hours. At that point, I said, "Hey," I told my brother, I said, "Hey, man, come here for a minute. Uh, I'm done. I'm not doing this no more." You know,
So
it's a daily.
was this tattoo shop actually profitable? Because it sounds like all the money from
Oh man. What? Yeah, I was loaning friends $500 at a time.
So Alan, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. A little hectic. Every day is hectic here.
Where are you at, actually?
I'm in. I live in Montgomery, Alabama right now. Me and my wife take care of both her bedridden parents. Her father had a stroke 3 weeks ago, so now we're dealing with hospice.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. That's
Oh
not fun.
man, it's life, man. I've had 3 heart attacks. I should have been out of here with the last one. Uh, so now I'm doing what I can to put some positive back into this world before my tour is over.
Yeah, no, I understand. So recap us a little bit about your life. You had mentioned that at an early age you had an interesting childhood. I want to start off there. Could you share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I was born in Hickory, North Carolina. I basically flip flopped between North Carolina and Florida in my younger years. Um, I was born in '72, if that helps. I'm Gen X. I'm
Yep, same here.
left-handed, which is sinister, and I'm an Aries, so I'm very hard-headed and very confident.
That's cool. That's cool. I can write with
Yeah,
both hands, so I don't know what that makes me.
right, right. My dad, he was a police officer in Southern Pines, North Carolina, back in the '50s and '60s.
Hmm.
He was completely out of all that when I came along. Um, I'm gonna be brutally honest. I don't sugarcoat anything. My mom was an alcoholic. My
Okay.
dad didn't drink, so they on and off, back and forth. Over the years. My grandfather on my mother's side was really the town drunk. I mean, he drove his car into the courthouse a few times.
Really?
He shot a man over a card poker game. I don't know what it was about. Uh, he showed up one day when I was about 9 or 10 and wanted to go fishing.
Hmm.
So I went with him, and we went down this little gully. He was in a Pinto. I don't know if you remember what Pintos
Yeah,
are.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, you hit him in the back and it's a bomb. But he goes down this dirt road and we get stuck. It's muddy.
Hmm.
Now I'm 9, maybe 10 at the most, man. And he says to me, "Go up on the road there and hitchhike. Somebody will pick you up." Tell him you're going to Thelma's, which was my grandmother.
Uh-huh.
So I did that. Same grandfather used to take me and my brother to this brick house. We would sit out. He wouldn't let us in the house, but he would go there and he would drink with someone.
Hmm.
And me and my brother sitting in the car, 9, 10. My brother's 5 years younger than I am. But we kept seeing cats flying out this door to the side of the house, in anger. Somebody's throwing cats out the door, and we're like,
Like adult
whatever.
cats, kittens? What are we talking about here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, cats.
Both,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, being that I knew my grandfather was drunk all the time,
Hmm.
this really wasn't that weird to me. What was weird was who was throwing the cats.
Okay.
The more they sat there and drank, we could hear them arguing and going on, as the alcohol progresses. I
Yep.
don't drink myself, um, and I don't drink because of this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, he was drinking with Aunt B, Frances Bouvier
Okay.
from
And
Mayberry.
so Ampy from Mayberry, like, could you expand upon that a little bit? Because my brain
Yeah,
is not kicked in yet. I can't think who that is at the
yeah.
moment.
Aunt B lived real close to where I grew up down in Moore County around all my family's family.
Okay.
And he got drunk with Aunt B all the time. I mean, that's about all I can say. I never met her. She
Okay.
was a very, very angry woman. Uh, We wasn't allowed in the house. There was cats everywhere. I mean, everywhere, dude. She had like 50, 60 cats. She was not, I'm not putting her down or anything. I love
Hmm.
Aunt B. I grew up on Mayberry,
Hmm.
but she was a very difficult woman in her personal life. In fact, when she passed, her car was completely full of cat feces. They had eaten the upholstery out of her car,
Wow.
stuff like that. So being around my alcoholic grandfather was a real learning experience for me. You know,
Gotcha.
from the time I was 12, my parents didn't buy me anything. I had to supply my own money to buy what I needed, you know.
Did you go
Uh,
back after you hitchhiked over to your grandfather's house, back to your parents' house, or did you just hang out with your grandfather from that point forward? Just trying to
well,
get.
back then I was with them for the summers.
Okay.
I would go either from Hickory, North Carolina down, they lived down around Pinehurst,
Okay.
down around Fort Bragg.
Yep.
Uh, so summertime, holidays, stuff like that. If I was between Florida and North Carolina, my dad lived in Florida where I wanted to be, and my
Hmm.
mother lived in North Carolina. I saw her. We had problems. Both my parents have passed now. Neither one of them are still with us. But yeah, I flip flop back and forth. The hitchhiking that day was to my grandmother's house.
Okay.
My grandmother didn't finish the third grade. All of her family had tobacco farm.
Hmm.
That grew tobacco, which I had to do when I was younger too, to go out there and help them. Uh, it was a real spotty childhood, back and forth between. There really wasn't no solid foundation. You
Gotcha.
know, if I wanted something or if I needed something, or I could ask, but 9 times out of 10, it didn't ever come about. My
So
mom was too busy with herself, and my
yeah.
dad was a great guy. I mean, my dad were friends, but you're basically looking at a version of him right now. He was very blunt, very to the fact.
So what
He
was
didn't
it
beat.
like working on the tobacco farm at a young age? Like, do you have any interesting stories at that point, or like from doing that or dealing with people that when you're on
Well,
the farm?
okay. Well, my grandmother was a little bit odd. Uh, the tobacco farm was run by my great grandfather, Carl Doby.
Okay.
Um, Later in life, I found out he was a member of an organization that no one wants to talk about
Okay.
in North Carolina.
Okay. Which one is that? Because I'm in Florida. So
Okay, what part of Florida are you in?
I'm in Central Florida.
Oh, okay. I grew up in Clearwater.
Okay. Yeah. Not
My
that
dad
far.
lived in. I lived Clearwater, Largo, Pinellas Park, Lakeland, Weeki Wachee.
Hmm.
Uh, Later in years, I found out my grandfather was kind of high up in the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh. Oh, wow. Okay. I thought you were going
That
to say
was never.
Freemasons. That seems to be popular.
No,
Okay.
no.
So,
In that part of the sand hills of North Carolina, he was well known. And again, I'm not trying to put anybody's business out. These
mhm.
are all facts you can check.
Yeah, no doubt.
With Google and everything, you can find out anything these days.
Yeah.
Uh, Growing up on the tobacco farm, I had to help prime, I had to help hang, I had to carry water,
Hmm.
uh, stuff like that. My grandmother she was country. She used to go around and ask people in the community if she could put a row or two of vegetables in their backyard. Uh, then she would forget where she put them and make me and my brother ride around with her all day and go in people's backyards that I don't know and look and see. Hey, run back there and see if there's a row of green beans. Run back there and see if I put a row of corn in there. That kind of stuff. It was
Yeah.
weird, man. She carried an ice pick beside her all the time. She was country, man.
Okay.
uh,
Did you ever
yeah,
have any
she.
run-ins or someone was like, why are you on our property or anything like that? Or like, was it pretty like no one knew? This is the middle of the day.
It was such a tight knit little community there in Cameron and Bass, North Carolina, where they live.
Hmm.
Everybody knew Carl Doby. Everybody knew my grandmother. It
Hmm.
was the type of place where if she needed money, she would just call her friend at the bank and tell him how much she needed and go pick it up.
Gotcha.
They all grew up around the street was named after them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, so everybody in the community knew him.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So let's fast forward a little bit. So you worked on the farm. You went around with your grandmother, collected food where she was trying to place different places. What happened after that? Did you finish high school? Did you go to college? Did you just go
No,
directly to work?
my dad moved. Well, we moved to Clearwater, Florida, in '84. Well, actually,
Okay.
Largo, Florida, in '84. And my first, again, I had to create my own money. And
Hmm.
all through my life, I don't mind working a job, but I always tried to do, if I was on the clock working for someone, whether it was in a hog farm, chicken house, stuff like that, I tried to do my job better than anybody else
Gotcha.
because I knew I couldn't conform to a 9 to 5 punch in, punch out. But if I did my work beyond what the person beside me was doing, normally I would be able to do what I needed to do because my work was done.
Gotcha.
So my first job, actually, I considered it a job other than mowing grass and things like that. When I was in 6th grade down in Largo, I was at Largo Middle School. I carried around, I rolled around a huge Samsonite suitcase.
Really?
And in the suitcase, I had basically a convenience store. So I would go to school, and most of my teachers would cut a little short at the end of each period, each class, to let me sell my goods, man. And back then, it was the cocaine mirrors from the flea market or the fair.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? With the rock and roll bands on them, the feathers on a roach clip,
Okay.
uh, drinks, Mountain Dews, chips, everything like that. I would stock up that morning because I had to walk to school 2 miles. And then when I got to school, I pretty much just sold stuff, racket balls, clackers, you name it.
So how much
People
were
would
you
tell me,
bringing in per day doing that? Like,
oh man, I used to sell, like rock and roll magazines back in the '80s. I used to cut the pages out and sell the posters for 50 cents, the pages for a quarter.
hmm.
Uh, on a normal day, 20, 25, $30, depending on what all I'd been asked to get the day before, so that
That's
was,
pretty good for the 80s. Like that was.
yeah, yeah, man. I've always been able to sell. I did flea markets when I was younger. I've sold baseball cards all my life.
Hmm.
That's currently what I do now in my in between time here to keep me sane. Uh, I sell sports cards on Facebook,
Okay.
and but at the same time, I also do a lot for special needs kids, kids who are starting to collect
Hmm.
cards today. Ain't like back in the day you could go in and buy a pack of cards at the gas station for 50 cents. Now a pack of cards is $5 and up. So I send cards to teachers who use them for incentives with their students and things like that. And I enjoy it. It's always been a positive in my life. But I've always been able to create a job. Recently, in the last 10 years, I used to sell bottle caps on eBay, used bottle caps that I would get from the local bars here. And
Really?
I did 2 grand a month doing that.
Really? Just
No,
selling them on eBay?
yeah.
That's
And then
crazy.
I tried to do things with the bottle caps. I made fishing lures with them,
Hmm.
uh, little rat, and they worked really well. I had an article about my fishing lures put in a magazine, man. Let me say this. I've done, I don't mean to jump around, but that's the way my brain works.
You're fine.
Uh, I've done about 1,500 hits of acid, and
1,500 hits of acid. Like,
yeah, yeah. I used to smoke an ounce of weed a day, man, a
okay.
day. Uh, it took my brain off of all the negativity in my life.
Hmm.
It made me see things on a different level to where
Hmm.
I had to deal with what was going on. But because of that, I've traveled all my life. I've been when we get into the job thing, you're gonna see it's crazy. But it helped me deal with it. But over time, the more places I went and the more stories that I logged away in my brain, which to me was crazy. what was going on. So, I've always been able to talk very well to people and put my point across. It got confusing, man.
Mhm.
Sometimes I would think, okay, I did this in Arkansas, but everything kind of blended together. So how I have to separate my years of my life is like a soundtrack. What song was out at that time?
Gotcha.
So you'll hear me refer to songs that places me where I was at that time.
So let's go
Uh,
back to middle school real quick.
all
You
right.
had said you were selling various different items in your class in middle school. Did you ever get in trouble for that, like with the principal, get kicked out of school, or everyone was
Now,
really chill with it?
yeah, everyone knew me. I was I was a liked kid. I
Okay.
was sociable. You know, no, nobody ever really messed with me as far as giving me a hassle about it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know if they were. I looked just like this in sixth grade, as a matter of fact. So
Gotcha.
imagine this walking up to you in sixth grade.
Yeah,
uh, yeah,
it's
nobody
really.
really messed with me, man. Everybody was real cool, but at the same time, I've always been very open about everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was an instant where someone said, you shouldn't really be doing that now or save it for later, whatever, I didn't have a problem saying, yeah, okay, right, whatever,
Yeah.
and going about my business. I really don't remember anyone ever giving me a hassle about it. Yeah, no, not really.
Okay. Um,
Everybody knew it was just me, man.
so like no one ever tried to take your money or nothing like that?
Yeah, no, no, I never had any problems like that.
That's
A lot
good.
of times I was known, I was a big kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I was known to be, I didn't take no shit, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I became the bully's bully. If you were messing with someone smaller than you, weaker than you, whatever it may be, I took up for that kid. So if I'm beating up the bullies, who's going to rob me? You
No
know what I
one.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I just body slam the guy off his 10-speed bike over here, I don't think the guys around him is going to worry about robbing me for my $20 or whatever. So I always had to put on a persona of I don't take no shit, don't mess with me.
Mm-hmm.
And and over the years, it has gotten me out of a lot of situations and also into a lot of situations. It goes both ways. There's always that one guy in the crowd that's like, oh yeah, I can do whatever I want to do, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm not the guy to try that with.
Gotcha.
And I'm not trying to boast or anything. I'm 52 going on 53. Uh, I've never been knocked out in my life.
Did you go
You
to
know what I
like
mean?
boxing clubs or anything to learn how to fight, or is it just something that came naturally to you?
Uh, well, fighting has never really been a thing I wanted to do or instigated. It
Mm-hmm.
was always in defense. It was always or in defense of someone. You
Gotcha.
know, um, I'm very fair. Let's say me and you get into an argument and we step out in the street. If someone steps in to help you, then there's no rules anymore, man. I'm gonna come
Mm-hmm.
at you with your own shoes if I can. The point is, I never went looking for it, but I didn't
Yep.
run from it either. And that helped me deal with a lot of situations, especially when I started tattooing, because tattooing, you deal with every walk of life, man. You deal with a cop, you deal with a crackhead, you deal with a prostitute, you deal with uh, a lawyer. I mean, everybody's getting tattoos, whether you see them or not.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know who you're going to be dealing with day to day, or you don't know what's going to jump off around you while you're in that situation. I've tattooed in bars. I've tattooed at bike rallies. Uh,
So
so that helped me prepare to deal with what's going on.
when you got done with middle school, obviously you like a self-made kind of I do my own thing type of person. When
That too.
did you go directly into tattooing after middle school, or were you doing some stuff in between there?
Uh, my very first paying job, as far as on the books, I
Mm-hmm.
was 15, and it was for the Fraternal Order of Police in Clearwater, Florida. I was a
Okay.
telemarketer. Uh, you would call people cold,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and go through the spiel and everything. And for some reason, man, people just clicked with me. So I started doing more than what the guys around me were doing sales wise during the day.
Gotcha.
Uh, they started to come to me to ask me what I'm saying to these people to make sure that I'm in the right and I'm not telling them something wrong. But at the same time, to learn from what I'm doing, I
Mm-hmm.
had to rewrite the scripts for. I'm 15 years old, man, and I'm talking to these older people, distinguished people, uh, high up in this company, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, I started writing their scripts for them. They started using what I was saying all through the room. So
Okay.
I became, I guess, a wordsmith for better words. I mean, uh, I really liked that job. I was good at it.
So how'd you
I've
get that
always
job?
walked in and said I needed a job.
That was it.
Somebody said,
Okay. Like,
yeah, somebody around the neighborhood or something said, hey, I know what you can do if you can talk on the phone or whatnot. Well, yeah, okay, I'll try it. And I loved it. I came and went as I pleased.
mm-hmm.
Uh, I did my thing again better than I thought anybody else could do it. And throughout my life, up until telemarketing got a really bad attitude and public image, uh, I was damn good at it, man. I worked for a company out of Lakeland, Florida called Aquamate. They sold water softeners.
Mm-hmm.
They were Rain Soft's major competition. Aquamate was paying me salary. I could come and go as I pleased. I knew exactly what was going on and what I had to accomplish to keep that salary coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Rainsoft heard about me and offered me $800 to come from Aquamate to work for them. So I did that. It's eight
How
hundred
old were you at
bucks,
that
man. All I
time?
got to do, huh?
How old were you at that time?
Um, this was in. Whew, Dad was already gone, so this had to have been. This was 96,
Okay.
97, somewhere right in there.
Gotcha.
Uh, so I went over to Rainsoft. My brother, 5 years younger than me, he was doing the same thing. He could talk shit too.
Mm-hmm.
So they paid him $800 to jump from Aquamate over to Rainsoft. 2 weeks later, Aquamate offered us 1,000 each to come back. That's how bad their sales were going.
Wow.
So we went back. I've sold for fraternal order police, the fire department, the state troopers, AIDS awareness,
Mm-hmm.
you know, whatever I could do to make money is what I did.
Gotcha.
I didn't want to be a criminal. I didn't want to be a felon. I didn't want to end up in prison. My motto was try to work within misdemeanors. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
as long as you're within misdemeanors, you're coming home in a day or two. You know what I mean? You're not going to be
Gotcha.
wherever you got to be for a long amount of time.
So
And,
you
and
had,
this all sounds crazy because you've never really, you don't know the timeline. That's what we're establishing now.
mm-hmm.
But this sounds chaotic to other people, man. But this was my life. You know,
Yeah. My question to you is, you mentioned you did 1,500 piece of acid. When did you start that? Did you start that when you were in like high school, or was that more after?
no,
Or
no. I messed around with weed a little bit in high school and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
Uh, the acid started when I was in Tennessee at the time. Me and three friends decided that we were tattooing at the time. We decided to try and put a shop together. So we traveled to Mississippi and ended up opening a shop down there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to say what city it's in, man,
That's
because
fine. Don't worry, you don't have to.
the debauchery that went on during the tattoo years of my first shop was crazy. I mean, that's a whole movie on its own. Uh,
Could you give a
but
little
we,
insight of one or two of the debauchery type of things, just to give the people listening, like what type of
I had a
debauchery?
Yeah, I had a cop come in and buddy up with us and wanted to hang out with us and everything. I
Mm-hmm.
guess because we were the flavor of the month or whatever. But he shows up one day with a hooker
Okay.
and says, "Hey man, do you mind if I use your back room for a little while?" And we're like, whatever, go ahead. And next day, he brings his wife in to take us out to lunch so that we wouldn't say anything.
Hmm.
I had cops taking stuff off of kids uptown, liquor, weapons, whatever. They would bring them to us. You know,
Why?
it was chaotic. We actually ended up in a war with the other tattoo shop. And when people say, "Oh, you don't fight about," yeah, my customers used to come to me and say, "Man, I had a knife pulled on me because I didn't go to this other guy. I had a gun pulled on me. I had my ass kicked." Stuff like that.
Hmm.
It's crazy, man. Me personally, I look at it like someone turns 18 every day. Why
Yeah.
am I going to fight for some? There's plenty of people that want tattoos, man. I don't need to be doing that.
Yep.
Uh, as far as the debauchery, man, I mean, groupies, tattoo shops have groupies. It's
Hmm.
not like Ink Master and all that shit. There's a lot of stuff that went on, and this was back in the 80s and 90s. So there was a lot of wild shit going on. I went to a party one night. We were invited to a party. There was four of us in the shop,
Hmm.
and we were invited to a party by this woman who her husband was in some sort of music situation. Either he was a video maker, a producer, so I don't know. I never met him. He
Hmm.
wasn't ever there. So we show up to this party, and there's cocaine everywhere. But what was weird, I come around a corner, and there was a cop that I knew standing there doing a bigger rail of cocaine than I was doing, you
Hmm.
know? And I'm like, how did, what? It was just odd to me. That struck me very odd. And let me put it this way. My wife, I've been married 16 years now. My wife was raised Jehovah's Witness. She does not practice it now. We
Okay.
take care of her parents here. Uh, but when we first met, we met online, and I came over here, and we went 7 days riding around and whatnot.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to climb out a window in 7 days, so I figured she might be the one I want to hang out with for a while. So we got married. Uh, when I was in, she's from here. So when she takes me around when we first get together and shows me, "Oh, this is where I grew up. This was my grandmother's house. This was this." It's
Hmm.
all pleasant, family,
Yeah.
tight knit. Uh, when we go to places I'm from, I'm like, "Yeah, I bought coke at that house. I did some acid at that house. Had to beat a guy down at that house." Hers is all Disney and mine's all gutter. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
don't know how else to say that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't
Let's
want to
let's
keep
go back to the
rambling.
tattoo parlor. Do you have
Okay.
any crazy tattoo stories that you like of crazy clients or just like crazy incidences that happen at tattoo parlor that you want to share?
Oh, yeah. Uh, all right. Guy comes in one night, and he says, I want to get a tattoo. I love the ones that come in and don't know what they want, but they know they want a tattoo, and that's
Hmm.
not the reason to get a tattoo. If you see something and you know instantly you want that on you forever, that's something to pursue. But just to get up one morning and say, I'm going to get a tattoo and not have any idea what you want,
Yeah.
that's some stupid shit, man. So this guy comes in, and we liked him. We got to hang out with him. He was likable. He was talkative, and he went into the bathroom. And a few minutes later, he come to the door of the bathroom, and he's like, "Hey, come here for a minute." I walked over to the bathroom, and he's tied off, man. He's ready to shoot up.
Hmm.
And he wants me to push. He wants
What?
me to do it for him. And because he's so messed up, he didn't want to hurt himself.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Nah, man, nah, nah. I'm not like that. Get your shit together and get the fuck out of my store."
Hmm.
And he apologized and whatnot. That guy ended up being my acid connection. He
Really?
used to take my business card
Hmm.
and my other guy's business cards and put acid on the business cards. So
Really?
therefore, I had to buy my fucking business card back from this guy. You know how weird it is to hand somebody money for your own damn business card? That's weird. But yeah, he turned out to be our coke connection. Him and his wife did like pay-per-view porn back in the day, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, he had this what most of the time we were pretty messed up, you know.
Hmm.
He had this tattoo that went around his stomach, you know, like the Jane looking tattoos, old
Yeah.
English writing, and it was homemade. And we were standing there one night, and he says, "What do you think about tattoo, man? Can you darken it up?" And you know this. I said, "Man, what the fuck does that thing say? I can't even read that. What is it? What is that? Your last name? Chandeluge? Is that your last name, man? Chandeluge?" He said, "Dude, it says scandalous." I said, "Bullshit. Come on, man." And we hit it off after that. You know, he was a good dude. He was a weird one, man, but yeah, he was a good dude. Um, hmm, I'm trying to think of stories I can tell you that are a little bit cleaner than you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, a lot of acid was done, but now when you want to talk about acid stories, dude, I've got acid stories for days, days. Uh, the tattoo shop was very chaotic. We didn't have a permit when we first opened. We'd moved. Me and another guy had went from Tennessee to Mississippi
Hmm.
to basically build the shop from the ground up. You know, the
Yep.
little space we rented. Well, he is a little bit of a drug addict too, but he did harder things. He was more crack and needles and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So we're staying in this hotel, this little motel room on the second floor, and he comes in one night. We would go to the shop during the day and work there, building the booths and whatnot, putting in sinks, bringing it up to code. But at night we'd stay at this little motel down the street. He shows up about 4 in the morning one night with a bunch of carpenter tools,
Hmm.
drills, saws, stuff, and he's wanting to pawn them, for money. And he's all messed up, man. His eyes are all huge and shit, sweating like crazy. And I said, dude, where did you get the tools, man? Where did these come from? Because we didn't come with them.
Yeah.
You didn't have them when you left out of here today. He says, I stole them out the back of a work truck. And I was like, I always ask questions to see how stupid this guy or anyone around me was at the time and whether or not I needed to leave that situation.
Yeah.
So I said, man, where did you get the tools, dude? Calm down. Stop geeking. Where did you get the tools? I got them right downstairs. And I was like, downstairs where? He walks out on the little balcony. We're on the second floor. I look down. There's a work truck right below me.
Hmm.
That's where he stole the tools from. The work truck right below us. So we packed our shit and got out of that motel room and just went and started staying in the shop. I mean, yeah, yeah. I tell you what made me stop doing cocaine.
Okay.
Uh, well, two things. When you get locked into a drug addict habit, you tend to
Hmm.
push it as far as you can, man. You're just gonna ride it.
Yeah.
Well, I got tired of my roommate, me and my brother both, we got tired of our roommates always getting in our shit while we're not at the house. So we went and rented a mobile home, a trailer, in a
Yeah.
trailer park, the trashy park,
Yep.
and paid the deposit, paid 2 weeks rent, which you could pay week or bi-week. And this wasn't a gated community. You didn't have credentials to get into the neighborhood.
You just pull
So,
up and pull in. Yeah.
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 Well, we paid for 2 weeks, walked into the place, walked into I don't remember showering. I don't remember eating. I don't remember where the cocaine came from.
Hmm.
I don't remember even using the bathroom for 2 weeks. I
Wow.
didn't take any clothes. There was no food in the refrigerator. In 2 weeks, after I don't even know how the cocaine got to us. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't show up there with 2 weeks worth of coke. That shit wouldn't have happened. Ten
Yep.
hours, it's gone. You know.
Hmm.
So we kept getting it from somewhere. But 2 weeks later, I walked out, get my deposit back, and go back about my business. I rented a trailer for 2 weeks and lost 2 weeks of my life to cocaine. Now that was a little bit of an eye opener. I couldn't tell you what happened in those 2 weeks. I don't even know if I showered, man. I don't know nothing. I don't even
So
remember doing it.
were you
You know, I
running
don't.
were you still running the tattoo parlor when this happened, or was that
I don't know. I
okay?
don't remember leaving. I mean, man, we were on it. You know what I'm saying? We were on it.
Okay.
Uh, all right. Fast forward another couple of weeks to the shop,
Mm-hmm.
and girl comes in and says, I want to get pierced. Okay, so we pierced her, and about, I guess, maybe 4 or 5 hours later,
Mm-hmm.
this girl walks in and brings some friends with her. And my brother was piercing at the time. I wasn't piercing. I was just tattooing.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Hey, I brought some friends back to get piercings, ears, whatever it was."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah." So my brother's setting up to do the piercings for him and everything, and we're talking, you know. And I said, "Didn't we pierce you?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, you did my belly button." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Okay, yeah. How's that doing? I mean, it's been like what, a month or so? It should be healing up by now." She said, "No, sir. It was about 11 o'clock this morning." Dude, a whole month had went by in 4 hours. At that point, I said, "Hey," I told my brother, I said, "Hey, man, come here for a minute. Uh, I'm done. I'm not doing this no more. I just lost a fucking month, man. You know, I mean, I don't know what. When months start going by in hours,
Mm-hmm.
you need to stop doing some shit. You know what I mean?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was a wake up call. Uh, that's the last time I did cocaine was that day. That's when the weed kicked in a little more. Every night when I would leave the tattoo shop, I'd stop by my guy's house and pick up an ounce, go home, and man, I'm not kidding, smoke down till the next morning. I had to go back to the tattoo shop. After the
So
tattoo shop closed that night, I went and got another ounce of weed. You know,
so
it's a daily
was
dose.
this tattoo shop actually profitable? Because it sounds like all the money from
Oh man, what? Yeah, I was loaning friends $500 at a time. You
really.
know, I had no problem with what I was doing because I knew I was going to make another 12, 1300 tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was too much money to give an idiot like me. It was too much money and too much freedom within the community because of all the cops that were buddied up with us.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we had a hall pass, man. You know, so we took advantage of that. But yeah, it wasn't nothing to make anywhere from 800 to 1,500 bucks a day. You know,
Gotcha.
I was pulling down 6, 7, 8,000 a week. Uh, but again, I was rolling nonstop. I mean, there was maybe an hour nap here, or if I couldn't get out of bed or something, that's when I rested. But other than that, man, I was balls to the wall back then. Me and my brother both. You know,
Mm-hmm. How were the
again,
tattoos? Were they really good tattoos, or what type of style of tattoo were you known for that people were coming in for, or just they didn't know they just want a tattoo?
it kind of went from the ones that really knew what they wanted and was committed to it, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, I respected them enough to do it to my best of my ability.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was the ones that came in that just wanted it to show their friends or impress a girl or you know stuff like that. So it was it was it, it was chaotic. But when I needed to step up and do the right thing, I did the right thing. I never jeopardized someone because of what I was doing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
in my own personal life. In other
Gotcha.
words, if I couldn't work, I didn't work. If I wasn't confident in what I was able to do, I didn't do it. But as far as tattoos, man, anything from you know, something small like a little butterfly or a dicker fly. You know what a dicker fly is?
Not exactly, no.
Yeah, it's a butterfly in the shape of a dick.
There you go. I learned something new
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Huh?
I learned
Do what?
something new.
Yeah, yeah. I did too that day. Uh, rebel flags, man. Depending on where I was, if I was around bikers, it was biker tattoos and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Uh, if I was in the shop and I pretty much went by appointment only, so I could set my hours. But in
Gotcha.
between that, I would knock down the small stuff, and plus I was pulling percentage off of the other three guys in the shop. So I'd have to pick and choose because it was mine and my brother's place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had two other guys with us, which were family to us, but if it boiled down to it, they'd take a walk. You know,
Gotcha.
it was me and my brother. We were very tight. Everything we did was together.
So, you said you had biker gangs come into your shop. Did you have any issues with them or any like crazy stories that happened when they showed up or any biker
No,
fights or
not
anything like that?
no. I never really was around any of the biker fights or anything like that. It was mostly just bragging and drugs and
Mm-hmm.
you know I not that I dislike them, but that's not my cup of tea.
Gotcha.
Most people think that I'm into that kind of thing, but I'm not. Man, I'm just an old hippie. You know, I don't get into. I never went looking for it again. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
I never had any real fights. Most of the problems came from outside interests as far as other tattoo shops. We always had conflicts with other tattoo shops. They always, I guess, because we were likable, we were
Mm-hmm.
popular, we had a following, we had groupies, you know, and we didn't really care what the other people were doing across town. Didn't bother us. But with the bikers, man, it was definitely a different style of tattoos. Uh, the main thing was trying to make sure that they were at least sober enough to be able to heal properly. You
Mm-hmm.
know, again, even though I was a miscreant, I still did my job to the best of my ability and didn't put anybody at risk or anything. Uh, the crazier stuff was always just outside of our little circle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it went on around us, but it didn't come in on us very much. Me and my brother both 6'3", 6'4", 300 pounds, tattooed. You know, I mean, nobody really messed with us. And being in the tattoo business, it was kind of like having diplomatic immunity. You could move through different areas and basically be looked at as neutral. That
Gotcha.
was the thing I liked about it. I could move within and around different areas of chaos or loyalty or whatever, and I was looked at as just I'm on the fence. I'm neutral. I'm Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting into all that shit. And
Yep.
it's gotten me out of some things over the years too, because 9 times out of 10, if somebody wanted to square up on one of us, and there was a group of people around, somebody in their group knew us
Mm-hmm.
enough to say, man, these guys do tattoos, man. And that got us out of a lot of situations.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So you had the tattoo parlor. You said you had more than one. How long
yeah,
did
I
you?
had one. I had one in the first one was in Mississippi. The second one was in North Carolina, and the one that I was partners with was here in Montgomery.
Okay. So why did you leave the first Mississippi tattoo parlor? Were you just an employee there, or were you like you owned it
No,
outright?
no,
Or
no, no. It was me and my brother. We opened it.
so why'd you
Yeah.
close it down in Mississippi and go to North Carolina and do it there?
The reason that we actually closed it down, well, several reasons. Uh, the cops were becoming a problem. They were
Mm-hmm.
starting to get a little overboard with what they were wanting to do around us, to the point to where we actually had to say something to the chief of police about the confrontations we were having with the other tattoo shop in town, and the cops were divided. Some of them were on our side that was buddying up with us.
Yep.
Some of them was on, I mean, we had to drag a dude out of a mall one day uh, that was in with the other shop because of shit he had said and done toward us. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, my customers were getting beat up, man. Uh, to me, that wasn't the first shop actually stopped because I have enough sense to get the hell out of town before the shit hits the fan.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been able to do that just one step ahead of the walls caving in.
Yeah.
So we knew that A, I'm not from that state. B, I've got no family there. C, there's a lot of drugs, a lot of money, and a lot of under the table dealings going on.
Yeah.
it was safer to leave on my own note to get out of there than it was to ride it out and probably not get out of there at all.
So
You know.
you and your brother left Mississippi, or was it just you?
Yeah. No, it was me and him.
Did you take any of the employees with you from the shop, or they just did this?
No, no. One guy, I've talked to him one time since then. This was 97, 96, 97, 98.
Mhm.
I've talked to him and I've mentioned to him some of the stories from the shop,
Yeah,
and he's all for it. He doesn't shy away from what his history was, just like I am. I'm an open book.
gotcha.
But the other guy that was in the shop with us, and I don't knock him. I mean, he found religion.
Mhm.
He cleaned up his act, and he had a family. He was the only one out of the four of us that had a family. So I'm happy he took that direction. You know, for him and his kids, I love them. You know, he's family to me. But he
So no one
wanted
kept
nothing.
the shop going. It was just like that shop was shut down and everyone just went to different directions. You went to North Carolina. One guy found religion, the other guy just was like did something
He
else.
went, yeah, he went back to carpentry,
Mhm.
back to Tennessee.
Okay.
Uh, when we split ways in Mississippi, we came back to North Carolina and kind of just he hauled around, had a little window cleaning business. There was always something to do down around Fort Bragg. You could you could get all kinds of little side jobs and stuff. Uh,
Gotcha.
then we went back to Mississippi and had a roommate who was a friend of ours through the shop. We didn't want
Mhm.
anything to do with the shop. I didn't shy away from talking about it, but I didn't run with that circle anymore.
Mhm.
But I liked Mississippi. I liked the vibe of it. If I could have, if I could have, if I could have gotten rid of the chaos and the debauchery that was going on when the shop was open, if I could have done away with that and stepped away from it and still be able to function within that city without having to deal with all the ramifications and blowback and everything from the shop, I wouldn't have ever left. I loved it there. So when I went back, it wasn't, I didn't have anything to do with any tattooing then. I
Mhm.
wanted to be out of it. I wanted to be away from it. So I got a roommate that was a friend through the shop and just tried to hold a job down, you know, and live what I would say normal as
Mhm.
far as being an upright citizen.
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
I'd had my fill of the chaos at that point, and I enjoyed that time. It was peaceful. I didn't have to choose sides or go at somebody because of something they had said about me. My days of kicking doors in were over. You know.
Gotcha.
Now, when I left Mississippi and went back to North Carolina after that, and me and my brother opened the shop there in North Carolina, uh, that's where it started to come back in on me as far as the chaos and everything like that. And I had no health issues at the time, no heart problems or anything. I didn't smoke cigarettes. I didn't drink. Uh, my preference was weed. It
Mhm.
always has been, always will be. Uh, yeah, but there's a lot of jobs I had in between that, like the hog farm and chicken house and curb painting. Uh, we got locked up in Tennessee for curb painting. I didn't know
Why'd you
you
get
could go
locked
to
up?
jail for a job. Huh?
Why'd you get locked up in Tennessee for curb painting?
Because we didn't invite the sheriff in on any cut of the money.
Okay. So he just
Yeah,
flat out arrested you? How long were you in jail for?
13 days.
13 days. And
I
after
wasn't
that?
in jail. I wasn't in jail. I was in a hallway sleeping on the floor
Ah,
within the cells. I didn't even have a cell. I was in the hallway. Me and my brother both. Uh,
so after 30 days, you get out of town or did you try to keep doing
what happened was we were in jail for 13 days. We were not allowed to talk to anyone. He was making an example of us.
mhm.
Uh, we weren't allowed to talk to anyone. We did not get a public defender. We weren't allowed anything. luckily, a friend of ours, uh, his, I'm sorry, her father was well known in that county and
Yeah.
talked to the sheriff and told him that we wasn't, but he didn't want to hear any of that. But he did let us get a public defender on the day we went before a judge. In that 13 days, man, he had put my brother's picture on the front page of the paper as a bank robber. Uh, to them, that little town in Tennessee, to them we were Dillinger. You know,
Really?
we were Capone. We were something that they had never dealt with before, and they set us up. You know, curb painting is not a criminal act. So when you're out curb painting, you don't expect to see a bunch of cops roll up on you. When we finally got in front of the judge and we had a public defender, the public defender called us into the side room to hear. This is the first time I'm talking to him, so he wanted to know the story. So I told him what had happened, and he looked at me like I was from another planet. He didn't believe anything I was telling him. So he let me out of the room. Then he puts my brother in there and talks to him. My brother tells him the same story,
Hmm.
you know, as far as what we're doing, what got us here in jail, and he can't believe it. So he goes and tells the judge what's going on, and we go back out into the courtroom, and the judge makes me and my brother stand up, and he says, "We're letting you go. They're going to take you back to your vehicle. They're going to escort you to the county line. Don't ever come back."
Just like that.
That's what he said. So they took us to they had impounded our car.
Hmm.
They took us to our car. They gave us back the keys and followed us to the county line. And when we crossed the county line, they sat there and watched us drive off. And the before we left the courtroom, the public defender looked at me and he says, "I can't believe what happened to you happened. And all I can say to you is, you need to find someone outside of this area because you have a hell of a civil case. But don't ever come back here because you won't make it out."
Interesting.
So that's what we did. We, you know, I called. That was in Tennessee. I called the. I don't remember. I went through a lawyer service or something, talking to somebody,
Hmm.
explaining to them what had happened and why we got locked up and everything. And dude, now this is going to sound nuts, but you know the show Unsolved Mysteries?
Yeah. Yeah. I know that one very
Okay.
well.
Robert
Yep.
Stack.
Yep.
Okay. Uh, while I'm talking to a lawyer on the phone about what had happened to us, my brother is watching TV, just goofing off. And he jumps up and starts screaming, "Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit." And I look over at the TV. I'm like, "Dude, what is going on?" The sheriff that locked us up was on Unsolved Mysteries because a man had went missing in his county and he was a suspect.
Hmm.
While I'm talking to the lawyer on the phone about a person, I'm looking at the person on the TV. That scared the hell out of me, man. I'm like, this guy is the sheriff is already a maniac for
Hmm.
whatever. In the time I was in the jail, me and my brother was in the jail, this the sheriff would bring in prostitutes to do things through the bars to the people. If you got caught with marijuana in his county, he would weigh it, give it back to you, and put you to work for him. You know what I'm saying? It was a very backwards, chaotic. When we left the courthouse that day and the sheriff walked behind us, no, I'm sorry, the public defender was behind us. The sheriff came around the corner of the court, stopped right in front of us at the bottom of the steps, and said, "Hey, next time you guys come back, give me a call. Maybe we can work something out and work together," and drove off. You know, it was a learning experience, man. I'd never seen someone abuse their status like that. You know,
Hmm.
he was pissed because he wasn't making a cut of what we were doing.
Is he still a
Uh,
sheriff or is he like
He's
Gone.
dead.
He's
He's
dead?
dead. Yeah,
Okay.
he's dead. I wouldn't say much about it if he wasn't. But
Gotcha.
yeah, he's gone. And he was dirty, man. All the stuff that was going on was on his doing, you know. The crazy part is when they came and got us, we were on the job, we were painting a curb, and
Mhm.
it was his mother's house. He had set us up.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
When we got done painting the curb, I walked up to the door, knocked on the door, and I said, "Yes, ma'am, we're done. It's $15." And it was an older lady. I'll never forget it. She just kind of acted dumb. She acted like she was confused and just kind of stalled a little bit. Next thing I know, there's a red flatbed 65 Chevy truck, like farm truck,
Hmm.
come whipping into the parking, into the road at the driveway there, and surrounded us. I mean, they were not in police cars. They locked us up. They handcuffed us and took us to jail. Uh, it was surreal, man. The point is, when they rolled up on us, like I said, they thought we were the biggest thing to hit town since loaf of bread with slices in it,
Yeah.
and they did not realize when they handcuffed us and put us in the car, and then towed our car to the impound. They did not even take the time to search the car. Now they locked us up on something that was total bullshit.
Hmm.
They locked us up for having a job and not cutting the sheriff in on it, not getting his permission, basically.
Yeah.
If they had searched the car, there was a blunt on the dash, broke open with weed on the dash. There was enough weed on that dash to lock us up. They didn't need to trump up charges on us.
Hmm.
They had us if they had just searched the car. They never did. When we
Gotcha.
got out and they took us back to the car, I got in the car. I looked at my brother. I said, "Man, the fucking blunt is still there." So we rolled it and got the hell out of town. They locked us up on nothing. They wanted us so bad. They sat there for the first night. They sat there and looked through all the law books, trying
Hmm.
to find as many things as possible to throw at us. And they did. They threw as many charges as they could. But if they had just taken the time to do their job, they would have had us on the weed.
So
But they
what
never did.
inspired you to go to this county of all counties and say, let's paint um the
It
little numbers and stuff?
it
What
just happened to be right on the line of the little town we were living in.
Hmm.
It wasn't a specific reason. The way curb painting worked was you had a little flyer, and
Yep.
you would stick the flyer on the side of the mailbox. And if someone wanted you to paint their curb, they'd stick the flyer in the window of their house.
Hmm.
You saw the flyer, you painted the curb, you walked up to the door, knocked on the door, and said, "Yes, ma'am, I just finished your curb. You got the flyer in the window." Boom, they pay you, going about your business.
Yeah.
We just happened to cross the county line. I think we only put out less than a dozen flyers across the county line into his county,
Hmm.
and didn't think anything of it. I mean, we've been all over the area. But yeah, we just happened to put maybe 8 to 12 flyers in a row on his side of the county line, and that's what drew us. That's where he had us. If we had never put those flyers there, we'd have never been in this county. And
Gotcha.
and I'm saying it wasn't even the length of a city block. That's how small a margin we were over into his county. Uh,
Understood. Understood.
there was another guy in jail that had been in there for 2.5 years.
Hmm.
He begged us to call his family in California and tell them where he was, because he was locked up and was kept there for 2.5 years because he was not from there. To them, he was a transient. You know what I'm saying? He was a bum. He was
Hmm.
a saddle bum. He was a homeless person. So
Yeah.
therefore, they could hold him For 2.5 years, he didn't talk to anybody. No, never saw a judge, never got a phone call, never nothing. The reason he was in jail that he was originally arrested for is him and his girlfriend, who his girlfriend was from there,
Hmm.
got into an argument. She called 911 and told them that he stole her TV. Now this sounds petty as shit. Stole her TV, and because he wasn't from there, they could charge him with all this other shit, put him in jail. That's what they did. When we called when we called his family in California, when we finally got out,
Yeah.
his mother thought he was dead. They had already considered him missing. You know,
Yeah.
he was gone. I don't know whatever happened to that man. I don't know if he died there. I don't know if they ever got him out. But yeah, he was there 2.5 years when we were in there, and basically disappeared. You know, the
So did
the
you
family
continue
had no idea.
doing curb painting after you left that county, or were you like, hey, we're done with this. We're going to do something different?
Yeah, yeah, that broke me on it forever. I never touched another curb. Yeah, yeah, it was like someone stuck me in the ass and
Hmm.
pushed me out of it. I didn't want any part of it anymore. I wanted to. That's not the road I wanted to go down. I didn't do it to be. It was a job, man. It was a way of making money. It was
Gotcha.
a way of
Gotcha.
supporting myself. It wasn't devious. It wasn't underhanded. We had a business license. It wasn't anything like that. We were legit. We didn't scam anybody. It wasn't scam.
Hmm. So
Uh,
what took you to Tennessee? Because it just seems like an odd,
okay.
yeah. What made you get to Tennessee?
We were in North Carolina, me and my brother,
Hmm.
and I can't even remember what we were doing, but we had gotten into a car accident. I had gotten hit.
Hmm.
Uh, and the car was, it was a Ford Escort station wagon, little 4-cylinder car.
Yeah.
They totaled it. The insurance company considered it totaled, but I bought it back because there was really nothing wrong with it except for a fender and a bumper.
Yeah.
So I bought it back from the insurance company for $200. A friend of mine in Tennessee uh, basically needed a car. So I told my brother, I said, I'm going to go over to Tennessee and give dude this car. It's not costing me anything. Plus, it gives me a chance to go see what he's doing these days.
Yeah.
And we walked into my mom's living room and we told her what we were doing. And I had a van at the time, so I was pulling the car behind it with a trailer. It was my brother's birthday, and we said we're going to go over and give this car to our friend and spend the weekend, and we'll be back Monday or Tuesday, and we'll, holler at you when we get back. We left on my brother's birthday. We were gone 2 years to the day, and came back. A weekend turned into 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we got over there, and we liked it, man. It was Middle Tennessee. It was a good vibe. It was good people around and everything. Uh, until I crossed into to the other county, it went total shit. But yeah, I loved it over there. But now you will not catch me crossing a Tennessee state line. It's not going to happen. While I was in Tennessee, I was tattooing one night. A personal friend, in her house, and her landlord kicked the door in and basically drug us out of there with a sheriff that was his buddy.
Hmm.
And the sheriff said, I'll lay you down right now and put you in a hole. Nobody will ever know where you were. You need to leave." And because the landlord was so religious, that's what the problem was. He was, to him, tattooing was the devil, so he had the cop do his dirty work for him.
And
Yeah,
it's
man.
just,
I've never seen the type of corruption
hmm.
as I did in Tennessee. That.
So you did a little tattooing on the side of the curb painting in Tennessee as well?
No, it kind of we started and stopped doing the curb painting here and there.
Hmm.
The curb painting actually started in Florida.
Okay.
Me and my brother got a job with a guy doing curb painting. He's the one that we learned basically the side hustle. You know,
Yeah.
it was a side gig, side money, and we used it when we needed it. You know, it was on and off. It wasn't a consistent thing. Uh, we had went to Tennessee basically just to see a friend. Got more and more into thinking about the tattooing going on, you know, and pursuing that as a legitimate way of making money,
Hmm.
and just kind of hee hawed around with the idea for a little while over there. Uh, Met a few other people that were doing tattoos and stuff. So when uh, when the curb painting took effect again, we were basically just doing it for money again. And damn, I'd have to think about the timeline on that. Like I said, a lot of things tie in together that yeah, I got to think about the timeline. But when we got into the situation with when Tennessee was tattooing really kicked in after that. You know,
Hmm.
when we left Tennessee was because of
Because
the
of the whole
lockup.
incident. Yeah, and then you're just like, we're gonna go back to tattooing. It's easier,
Yeah,
less. Yeah.
that's when I went back to North Carolina and
Hmm.
said, you know, maybe we ought to just put some roots down. You know, neither one of
Hmm.
us have kids, neither one of us was married. Uh, so we opened that little shop there in North Carolina, and I liked it. But again, over time, the drugs took hold, the
Hmm.
freedom took hold, the money took hold. You know, and it's like giving a kid all the time he wants in a toy or candy store to do whatever he wants. You know, he's
Hmm.
gonna go crazy. He's gonna go nuts. That's what we did. You know, the drugs always trying to because of the type of lifestyle we were used to. The drugs kind of numbed it. You know, trying to. It was there wasn't a lot of there was ups and downs. Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
Gotcha.
I've lost a lot of good friends to drugs. Uh, Lucky to survive that.
Understood. Understood. So, you went back to North Carolina. You and your brother opened up another uh, tattoo shop.
That would have been the second one, yeah.
And is that the time where you met your wife, or was that after?
Oh no, 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 no. I didn't meet my wife until 2008.
Okay.
The tattoo shop in North Carolina was 90. Well, actually, it was when the World Trade Center got hit. The
2001.
reason,
Yeah.
yeah, this was 2000 to 2001
Hmm.
was the tattoo shop in North Carolina, and what actually made me stop the tattoo shop in North Carolina was the fact that me and my brother were kind of at odds with each other. He was getting involved with a girl, and
Hmm.
tattooing was taking a back seat, and you know all that kind of stuff. So it got to the point where it was a hassle. So I went to go pick him up one morning and to go to the shop. And when I got there, he's like, "Come in, come in, come here, come here, come here." So I go in and he's on TV, and they just went into the first trade center, the first one. And I was like, "What's going on?" You know, I didn't know. So I sat there for a few minutes, and the more we sat there, we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if this was going to lead to like Red Dawn type shit.
Yep.
Well, then the second one went into the towers, and we're basically on Fort Bragg, which is one of the biggest military installations in the world. So I knew that that was going to be a target, and I took it as a sign, man. I looked at my brother. I said, "You know what? I'm done, dude. I'm done. I'm done with worrying about the tattoo shop. I'm done with worrying about you and your girlfriend. I'm done worrying about the drugs. I'm stressed. I'm out. I'm done." So I went to the shop and got my shit and walked out. Uh, that was it for me for a while, you know. Well,
So,
let me tell you one more story, and this is an acid story.
okay.
So I'm at this party. We're acid, you know. It was a constant thing, and we're. I used to put like TVs on their side and play static and Bob Marley music, Christmas lights on the ceiling, I tried Christmas lights on the floor, but that didn't shit work out that well.
Yep.
So, a friend of mine goes into the bathroom. Don't think nothing of it. He's going to the bathroom. I don't know how long time goes by in acid, but it seemed like fucking split second. I hear screaming down the hallway. So I'm like, what the hell? So I run down the hallway and I start beating on the bathroom door. He's got it locked. I can't get in. He's screaming, man. I think he's in there trying to, I don't know what he's doing. He's screaming. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? He says, man, I can't stop shitting. I was like, what are you talking about, dude? He said, man, I can't stop. It won't stop. I'm flooding the toilet. It's going to run everywhere. It's going to go all over the place. And I'm like, what the fuck are you meaning, man? What are you doing? He's like, I'm flushing. I hear the toilet flushing. And he's like, it won't fucking go down. I can't stop. It's nonstop, and all this shit. So I said, dude, stand up. If you stand up, your body will automatically stop shitting, dude. So he stands up and is silent. There's no noise whatsoever. And I'm like, are you all right? Hey, man, are you all right? I'm still beating on the door. Silence. All of a sudden, I hear it laughing. He's doing fucking hysterical, laughing. I said, what's going on, man? Open the door. This jackass says, dude, I haven't shit not one thing. I ain't done nothing. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Acid does that to you, man. I went in the bathroom at another party just like that. Party was jumping, man. Two naked chicks out in the living room going at it, just going crazy. Go in the bathroom, paneling. I don't know if you know what paneling is back from the 80s and 70s and shit. It's wood grain walls, man.
Mm-hmm.
That shit starts moving on acid. I was in there so long, when I came out, the fucking party was over. They were gone. There was nobody there. All the naked chicks and shit was gone.
Wow.
I have no idea how long I was in there. I have no idea. But I know them fucking walls, man. They were on point.
Well, Alan, thank you so much for being on the show today. I want to have you back again in the future, because I know you have more stories, but this was awesome.
And more than a pleasure, man. I'll do this anytime with you.
All right. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, man. You too.
This episode was made and produced by i4 Web Services. Visit i4webservices.com to learn more.